This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Well, the carnage in the gaming industry continues. A couple weeks ago, Microsoft/Activision, the new now merged company, announced massive layoffs. It wiped out products and all kinds of stuff. I think there was a studio that was nixed. The Activision esports division was basically gutted down to like 3 people. Definitely a big deal. But since then, it hasn't gotten better. As we have seen particularly in the tech industry, but other industries as well, but particularly in ours, when one big player has layoffs, the rest of the industry tends to follow pretty quickly behind. There's a couple reasons for it. One is the industry is now looking at them, right? Looking at everybody to see how they're going to react. There's proactive response to what is perceived to be a worsening environment. There's investor reaction, relations, all kinds of things that lead to it. And this week wasn't great. So Sony Interactive announced 900 employees will be laid off. In that, the London studio for PlayStation is gone. Firesprite, Guerrilla Games, Insomniac, and Naughty Dog will all see reductions, and it's going to come affect across all parts of the business. EA announced 670 positions, about 5% of the company. In there, they canceled the Star Wars first-person shooter that was being developed by Respawn, which is a pretty big disappointment because Respawn did a really great job with the last Star Wars game, which I'm not in that space. That's not my genre, but the response to it was great, and there was a certain point not too long ago where people were like, can EA give up the Star Wars contract? Is that possible? No? Okay. So for them to have come back and hit it so hard on that, it was a pretty big deal. They also have lost Ridgeline Games, the studio headed by the co-creator of Halo, and that team will be folded into Ripple Effect. They're also going to end support for F1 Mobile Racing, MLB Tap Sports, Kim Kardashian Hollywood, and the Lord of the Rings Heroes Mobile. So a bunch of games disappearing over there. They're not the only studio this week.
There's a Kim Kardashian game?
Apparently. I had no idea until this announcement came out. I was definitely a little concerned about it, but I guess it is what it is. Other studios are affected as well. Unfortunately, my screen just went down, but the now ironically named Supermassive Games is going to be laying off about 25% of their workforce, making them a little less supermassive, I suppose. This isn't the only batch. In the time that we were off, we saw some other studios also see layoffs. So, I mean, this is definitely happening across the industry. Games are being canceled. There was a game at Blizzard that was canceled in that first set of layoffs over there. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that's getting nixed kind of all at once, and and it always sucks, right? Because now you've got all these developers that are looking for work in an industry that's trying to downsize, which makes finding a new job for any of those people difficult. All of it sucks. And then from a consumer standpoint, now we've got, we won't get some of the games that people were really excited about. Again, another Respawn EA title, for example, or another Respawn Star Wars title. You know, not great.
Yeah, I mean, it's it seems that layoffs are contagious.
Uh huh.
So so you're seeing it across the industry. I mean, Microsoft did some big game layoffs announced in January. On the day they announced it, their stock price went up 0.6%. So the market obviously likes layoffs, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the problem is that we have an economic system or a market system that seems to be incentivizing it. Um, so, and then what happens is, and I was reading some articles about this, there's like a contagion factor where they'll
Mm-hmm.
say things like, "Oh, well, your competitor just did some cost savings. Why won't you?" And so then it becomes an expectation. If one company
Yeah.
does it, then another company has to do it. And there's people losing their livelihoods basically because it's the cool, like the
Right.
trendy thing for these companies to do at the moment,
Right.
right? Uh, it's not necessarily like there's probably some logic to it, but there's you can always cut people, but then when you cut people, the problem with cuts is they're very often not felt right away, or they're not
Mm-hmm.
felt the immediate impact of them is not as bad as it is 6 months, a year, whatever. Right? You don't feel it um, as much. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that's going on.
And
That's going on in the game industry, but it's also
there's
going on in. It's also
the Star Wars game is a great example of what you're talking about, right? That's a long lead time for development, right? It's been canceled today, and that project is gone. But the true effects of it won't exactly be felt for a couple of years until it was supposed to have come out. And all of a sudden, the sales of a Star Wars title don't show up in Respawn slash EA's pocket, right? And that there's a long lead time on that before the sales disappointment hits.
right. So the part of the problem is that we have a lot of businesses that really look at things in terms of how am I going to do this quarter instead of how am I
Mm-hmm.
going to do 2 years from now. And it's even possible that the executives who make these decisions won't even be there in 2 years when it was supposed to have come out. So what's their
For
incentive, right? Their
for
incentive
example,
is to raise the stock price today.
for example, the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, or PlayStation. Oh, who was it? Is it PlayStation Studios? Yeah, I think it's the head of PlayStation Studios. Is I think leaving in May. So
Right.
making this big announcement and then
So right. So
evacuating the building.
right. And if you and mind you, these decisions are also made by people who don't have to work, right? Like the amount of money that this person probably has in stock or whatever, they probably aren't going to be worried about eating or
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
paying mortgage or rent, right?
Right.
Um, But the people who were laid off probably are worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's unfortunate. We have a market right now that really, incentivizes this kind of thing because of the focus on short term gain rather than long term value.
Right.
Um, and it's not it's not great. It's not great. It's not great. Really, it's not great except for the people who are making out. Except for investors who are looking to sell their money, just sell their stock right now. It's not. It's not great because for the people who lost their job is terrible right away. For the company's long-term future, it's not good because they're not going to see that money in a couple of years. And for the consumers who were hoping to have those choices, it's terrible. Or
Right.
all the big people who are so sad now that they can't play Kim Kardashian's Hollywood. So I didn't even know that it existed until you just mentioned it, but now I can see that as a bright spot in this in this circumstance. But yeah,
You know, every every dark
it's
cloud has a
terrible.
silver
So
lining, right?
yes, yes.
Uh,
It seems like every game I play lately is like a really from a really independent studio though.
mm-hmm.
So who knows how that will affect the smaller ones.
Well,
But
we might see
it's a
more
shame,
indie
and it's also
studios.
happening in
We might see more indie studios pop up because of it, because all of a sudden there's developers out of work and there's no other studios to go to because everybody's laying off. We've seen it before, right? This is how new indies get started.
yes. So I'm going to it is I don't think it's a new game, but it was new to me. I'm just going to put in my pitch for the latest game that I am obsessed with, and I'm playing it on the Switch, but you can get it on PC. All it's $5 in either case. Is called Death Road to Canada, and have you heard of it?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
It
I'm
is
looking it
an
up right now.
8-bit looking zombie roguelike game, and it is like I'm like I'm like obsessed with this game. It's like so much fun, and it's such a great stress relief to just like torch a bunch of 8-bit zombies. Um, so the
Yeah. It looks like fun.
so
It's
like
it totally looks like my kind of
so
game.
like right, exactly. So like that's the kind. So like there's a lot of games that I've been playing like that are like fun and like pixel art and like really inexpensive. And I know they were made by like EA or something. They're made by small studios, and it seems that like there's a lot of good spirit there, right? Like
Yeah.
another one that I've really enjoyed was Wizard of Legend, which is kind of similar in style, but not a zombie game where you're kind of going through like a dungeon and you got to like get through and you get these different spells and whatever. But anyway, so there's innovation there, and maybe the innovation is happening from the bottom up. You know,
Not an unusual situation, especially in this industry. So we'll definitely have to see how this goes. There are still studios that have
yeah.
not announced layoffs. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but we will definitely keep tracking it as the next couple of months go on. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course, hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.